Hello, my colleagues and friends. It's Isabella here, greeting you for another Matrix Momentum show, and I'm having a very special guest here that was absent for a few times, our colleague that joined us from Dubai. Hamsi, how are ya?
Hi, how are you? How are you, Isabella? How's everyone? How are you, Shay and Aravind and Ahmed?
Welcome back.
Very nice to join you back. Happy and excited.
Great to see you. It's great, and the Magic 5 is back in full capacity, and we have some amazing things to deliver this time around. So you guys stay tuned. Wait to see. We're talking about how to level up in episode 15 and leveling up specifically in the leadership world. But before we jump into that topic, I would love to also hear from our colleagues here around the world about something very unique, specific, either in the country they're originally from or that in country that are currently residing. So I'm sure Arvind can do both because he comes from such a different cultures. So Arvind, share with us something unique about Germany, maybe in Berlin, and something unique about Sri Lanka. And welcome. Great to see you again.
Thank you, Isabella. And about Germany, I think a lot of people, when I was in US last time, people asked me, is it true that German people drink hot beer? And so, and is it true that they drink hot wine and hot beer? And then as you know that, yes, in some places it's true. And they have a certain hot wine, which is, usually they have, in the Christmas time, boiled with, spices and so on. So it's really good for the weather. And about Sri Lanka, maybe just, it's not full, complete Sri Lanka, maybe the part that I'm from, Tamil, Sri Lankan Tamil. And generally in Sri Lanka, maybe it's something different, is maybe for several reasons. We have more women in the country than men. We have more women representation in everything. Like if you look at 60% of people in science are women, 80% of all the teachers, they are women. It's like completely opposite of the other part of the world, even though they are very specifically preferring to be in academics, not very specific to discipline, in all discipline, but academics. And I think I have to also tell, maybe I don't know if it's the right place, we are the only probably small group of people who celebrate puberty or the menstrual day of the women. Like we have a huge celebration, like a wedding, when a girl gets her first menstruation, as is the whole society celebrates that. Unlike in other part of the world where it's kind of a taboo to even talk about it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's almost like a wedding. It's almost like a wedding when the first menstruation comes.
Wow. Very different. That's for sure. Thank you for sharing that out. And I'm glad, hot beer. I never heard about hot beer. I thought I knew it all about Germans, but not, I guess, everything. Oh, wow. So now we're going to go to Hamsi, who is joining us from Dubai. You can share something very specific from United Arab Emirates, but also from your culture. You're originally from Egypt.
Egypt.
I love Egyptian culture. So do you mind sharing a little bit of something a less known fact from both cultures?
Sure, Isabella. Well, here people really are very friendly, and I've been here like 17 years, so it's like my second home now. Where it's in the middle of the desert and it's hot and humid, but people, if you come to, people can always, if you have neighbors there, they always give you the nice traditional food, the Arab coffee and all that, and the people are very friendly, the Emirati people. You rarely that you see them like shouting, fighting, or anything. It's a great culture, and really, it's a beautiful country. A lot of places, the very nice places you can visit here, and it's a really rich culture, and people are are very nice here. This is for Emirates. For Egypt, of course, our monuments, the pharaohs, and we've seen last maybe few months there was really a great celebration for the mummies and the new. There is a new
discovery.
New discoveries are all the time there. So this is a part of our culture that this, although like 5,000, 7,000 years ago, but still this culture and civilization, it's always bringing in a lot of surprises, and it's part of our like make us proud. They are making us proud till now. And we're so happy about that, and people come, of course, from all around the world still to see the pyramids and all that. And although I've been living beside the pyramids for a long time in my life, but I rarely visit it. So whenever I tell people I'm living beside the pyramids, they tell me, "Wow!" But I tell them, "No, I rarely visit. I can see it from the balcony or something, so I'm not interested in visiting."
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're used to getting just a beautiful view, huh? So when
it's an amazing view, of course.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And now we're going to our colleague that is joining us from Ireland, and we want to hear some really awesome Irish stuff. So Shay, welcome, and please share something unique about Ireland that is well less known fact, please.
Hey, Isabella, welcome everyone as well. And what can I say about Ireland? Like, what is good? Well, first of all, like, we love literature. Like, I know, Khalid, you're a storyteller. You love the whole building that story journey. We're born storytellers. We can't tell you a straight answer. We have to tell you through a story. And each step of the story could have sub-stories and subplots. That's what we do, and that's how we communicate. And through that, we've learned to talk in sarcasm. So we don't, it's our natural tongue. And we have to remember when we leave Ireland, other people don't talk like that. And we have to remember to go back into normal talking mode. And so we also love to welcome people. There's a thing we say in Ireland called Céad Míle Fáilte, and it's Irish for 100,000 welcomes. So we love to make people feel welcome, and we love to help people, and we love to see people succeed. And we love to travel the world. We're probably one of the most desegregated populations in the world for such a small country. And how we know that? There's an Irish pub in every city in the world.
Wow.
Oh, yes. Nice one.
That is awesome. And how about the pot of gold and leprechauns? Okay, you have to tell us. I'm still believing that they exist, and I'm still looking for my pot of gold.
Oh yeah, I can tell you where they are. No problem. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to definitely check that out, from pyramids to pot of gold, and into some amazing events that Arvind already shared. And now we're going to our colleague that is joining us from Saudi Arabia. Do you mind sharing something very specific or unique as in Saudi, and something also from Egypt, because you're Egyptian as well, right?
Sure. So let me firstly start by Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, if for our audience maybe that they don't know, Saudi Arabia, it's the first hub for Muslim people, because we have here Mecca, we have here Hajj, so it's one of the biggest spot in the world for all Muslim people. They come here. This is number one. Number two, something about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia, I love their people. They're welcoming all kind of expats. That's why it's one of the biggest spots in the world, because of their power of purchase. I would say one of the best margins, especially in the world. I would say, if we're talking about P&L, one of the biggest and the best margins in the world, it's in Saudi Arabia here. That's why it attracts many businesses all over the world. When they want to have higher margin, higher profit, they come and build some businesses here. That's why it's very attractive. This from Saudi Arabia. From Egypt point of view, I will tell you something very unique about Egypt. Egypt, since the beginning of Farouk, as Hamamsi said, we are being conquered because of the best spot in the world. If you go back to Egypt, we have the
Yes.
best weather, and we have the four seasons in the best ways. If you go summer, you will see summer. If you go autumn, you will see autumn. Spring, it's spring. Winter, it's winter. So that's why it's like an attraction from all over the world for being conquered. I don't like history, but I don't want even to speak about history, but go and see the history in Egypt. We've been conquered from many countries all over the world because the best spot in that point. This is about Egypt.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. And I think Cooper is laughing when I was talking about a fairy tale about leprechauns and pots of gold. And he's like, you can just believe whatever you want. You're right. I guess we're all kids and we want to believe in different cultures. And this is awesome to also hear about Egypt and additional information. So my dear colleagues, great to hear all of that. And I just want to quickly say, I mean, you guys know how amazing United States is in so many ways, how diverse it is, not only in terms of culture, but one beautiful fact that I absolutely love is that the World Messenger and loving the message from the world, having representation every parts of the world in one country. That really makes me super, super excited, and that's the focus. But then also very unique, crazy things like at the 4th of July, Independence Day. I mean, people eat. Yes, it is very typical to eat so many of those hot dogs and burgers because those are the things typical, and fries, and then drink tons and tons of beer. So in celebration of independence, just in general with the flags and people being happy and the music and the dance. So some of the things that we've literally just had at this fast weekend. So now you have it. Be a little bit to travel around the world, learning about different parts of the world where my colleagues are not only residing, but also contributing so beneficially in their roles to not only current clients, but also people in their communities. And that is the magic about leadership, isn't it? So with that in mind, we're going to jumpstart what it takes to level up, and specifically level up in business and level up through the lens of leadership. Who wants to jump on that one? Who is ready to take that one and tell us what that is all about in their own mind?
All of us.
Okay. Okay, let's start with Ara. Ara, please bring it on. Tell us how that looks like in your world, how you're leveling it up, and how you're leveling up with your clients.
I think like Khalid wanted to say in first place. No, Khalid, he said all of us. So please go then.
Okay.
We'll yield to you, Khalid.
I will start with that point about it. So I'll tell you my point of view from leadership point of view. It's the first essence of being a leader is being yourself, and part of from the culture and part of from the life that we live every day, we by unconscious way we are absorbing what's happening around us. And speaking about I'm talking about business. So we are not being ourselves because of the culture, because of the environment inside us, because of the bosses, I would say, around us, which push us to not be being ourselves in the real essence. I would say if and I'm talking about if we want to level up our leadership, number one, we have to be ourselves. We don't need to be artificial. We don't need to be somebody else, because I see many people, and I was one of them. Let me admit that in the past, that I was absorbing whatever people they give me, and that sometimes by the push you don't have a clarity, and this is overcoming all kind of care between you and people, and your colleagues, and even your people who is reporting to you. So this is building a big walls between you and your people. My advice and my point of view in terms of leadership: care, listen, give, and being yourself. This is if you want to level up your leadership, be yourself and listen, and be authentic with people. Give them a wise hand, listen to them. If you don't even cannot help them, guide them to the right way. If I don't have the ability to help them, guide them to the right people. This is just an overview of how you can level up your leadership.
Great.
I love that.
Brilliant.
So
If I can add, first of all, I love what you say, Khalid. you know, because that actually what you said reminded me of a story. Funny enough, because I'm Irish, so we tell stories, right? But when I was writing my first book on business, monkey business, I was doing a project down in the Midlands in Ireland, medical device company, and I went out for dinner with the leader, and I was doing an improvement process on one of his key product lines, and I started talking to him. I asked him, could I interview him for my book? And I was asking him a lot of questions, but I asked him, what did it mean to be a leader of a business? And what he said blew my mind, literally, because he said, all about continuous improvement, because that's what I do is continuous improvement. And he goes, but he said 3 different levels. He goes, first of all, you need to continually improve your team. How are you going to improve your team? How are you going to help them? How are you going to help them achieve their dreams? How are you going to build their success as well as the business success? So continually improve your team. Then he talks, continually improve your customers. You know, how are you going to solve their problems? How are you going to help them? How are you going to ensure that you're going to continually solve their problems and support them in everything they need? And then also he said, and then you have to continually improve yourself as a leader. There were the 3 things he said to me. And that's what I believe are the key things and elements to be a really good leader who levels up, is to continually improve your business, your team, and yourself.
Yes, yes.
Great points. Great,
It's a,
great.
well, and I love what you said, Shay, because sometimes I believe in leadership, when your personal interest, it's the lowest point when you come and to have a real people, to listen to people and let them give you their interest. But I see from a corporation point of view that my interest, everyone, is above everything. But once you
Yes.
devote this, listen to people, give them whatever you have, and care about them. Because once, I swear, I see this. Once people, they feel that you care about them, and they feel that you have an interest in their life, they will give you the extraordinary and significant effect even in business and their life.
100%. Absolutely. I totally agree with you. It's about appreciating the people that you are working with you, giving them opportunity to present themselves, giving them opportunity to be part of the decision making process. Some people think that this is weakness. For example, if you let your people really, and I faced this. I was managing someone and give him like opportunity to present, opportunity to work, opportunity to talk, and I was like managing him, but I'm dealing with him as a friend. I don't like to impose or put like threatening him or something that if you don't do this, you will lose your job or something. This is how, and he was giving his best, but for some people that this is no, you don't do your, you don't know your job. You are just giving the people under you the work because you don't know how to do the job. But actually, it's about delegation and about trust in the people that are working under you, and it's about making them like you said, give you the extra mile because you appreciate them, because you give them opportunity to work, you make them let them part of the decision making process. So I think this is leveling up in leadership.
Yes, totally agree. Hamamsi, also, it's part from the toxic environment, I would say. I love what you said, because once people, they think that you're kind and you're helping, this is you don't have,
I think that this is weakness.
This is toxicity. I say it with a loud voice, very loudly. This is toxicity, a part of toxicity, because people, they think when you are kind and we're helping people, you cannot control your emotions. Guys, leadership, it's all about empathy. It's all about empathy. You should empathize. This is the best leaders. When you want to connect with people, you should empathize. Empathize with people. But this is part from the toxic culture. When you think that I'm kind with people, kindness, it's not weakness. Kindness, I think it's some powerful effect. This is the leadership. But don't tell me that if you are kind and if you're helping people, this is not leadership. You have to be very assertive. You have to devastate. You have
You
to
have
go.
to hurt people.
This
It's
is
nothing.
not
Yeah.
leadership. This is not leadership at all. That's why.
Yeah. Love that beautiful enthusiasm and excitement here. And I just want to also say that our colleagues and friends around the world love that too. We have a Vipin join us from Qatar. We have Doreen join us from Canada, from my favorite city, Toronto. We have a Cooper here join us from States. And we also have Vahat join us from KSA. So you have a KSA representative here as well, Khalid. Which is fantastic. And I love that we're very clear what we're seeing. It's not enough. What is we're seeing from people that are in charge and wanted to lead the way, what they need to do, right? And sometimes we need to demonstrate that. And that's why it's also about leveling up, how we level up individually and how our teams are leveling up and overall as organizations, right? So what are we doing to make that happen? And I want to hear Arvind's perspective as well, but I wanted to share something that is really, really timely and relevant. So, Arvind, if you're able, please jump in and share your leveling up.
Yeah. So basically, for me, leadership is about the contextual leadership, right? We don't have one size fit all. So in some organization, you need to leader has to be, even within that organization, within different period of time, it has to change, and so there should be not rigid form of a leadership. So it's about contextual leadership. Second thing is about the servant leadership. It's not that the leader is not to be a boss, but to serve the people, and that servant leadership is one form of leadership. A lot of organization would love to adopt this, that the leader is to serve, not the people is to serve the leader. But again, for me, like, it may not work all the time. In some places you have to take very aggressive decisions, and for that you need to look into the contextual leadership, and that's what I believe. We have to be open for that.
Fantastic. And what I really wanted to also highlight before we to go into another really great question and conversation, to really give a sense of that we're living in very disruptive times, right? We're living still in that things are driven by crisis. A lot of innovation is not happening by choice. A lot of change is being by force, and which really puts people in really uncomfortable. And now we're sharing the global leadership forecasts and perspectives and what is really looking like. And one thing, you guys already nailed it, and I love how in sync you are with not only what is being proven over and over, and more forecast for the remainder of 2021. It's insane pressure to do two things, and you guys cover them both, which is a pressure to develop future leaders and more a next generation of the leaders. But that takes time, right? So what do you do when you have a gap? And then at the same time, also to develop the future generation of high-performing talent. But then again, that takes time. So if you need already performers and you already need leaders, what do you do during this time when you are in the limbo, when you're in the crisis, when things are not easy, when things are challenging, right? So those are the most pivotal two things. And guess what? All of them are people-centric, and all of them are around the leadership. So with that in mind, now comes to really this big, huge sledgehammer and says, okay, wait a second. How do we gain this new perspective? How do we shift from that old mundane and things that were comfortable and jump into uncomfortable? So what are you guys seeing, and how can we help them to gain that new perspective that will be necessary?
Yeah.
For that.
Well, just one thing I'd like to say on this, Isabella, is a sailor never learned their skills on a camp sea. So you're right, these are turbulent times. Like, if I was coaching people to be leaders, I'd be saying to myself, this is an amazing time to develop your leadership skills, because yes, it will be difficult, it will be tough, but you will come through the other side knowing how to manage a business, stir it through very treacherous times and seas, and then bring your team along a journey. Because at the end of the day, there's so many more variables in today's world when it comes to a leader. They have to consider, like, everybody wants more in business now. Everybody wants more time. Everybody wants more learning, more doing. They want to grow. This is what this pandemic has taught them. So leaders have to accommodate that. If they're not accommodating this, they're going to lose people along the way. They cannot just treat people like numbers anymore. They've been getting away with this for far too long. But the other side of this equation, and we've talked about this before, Isabella, where, even though people and companies are training more in leadership, companies are still reporting lots of lack of leaders in their companies, even though they're training more. And that tells me again and again that you can't train leaders in a classroom. The only way you can guide them, you can learn certain tools, but the only way you can become a leader is learn by doing. And again, it's about throwing yourself in the deep end. So again, if I was in a position to be coaching them, I would be pushing them at the edge, right? But
the comfort zone.
Just way out of their comfort zone, but making sure they're comfortable with that, they're okay with that, but letting them move forward. And by the way, letting them make mistakes. The only way you learn is through mistakes. You've got to let people make mistakes, because through mistakes, you learn to become better decision makers. And then your role as a guide then is to help them find out why the decision was wrong. What went wrong? What was it wrong for? What are you going to do differently next time? You can't give them the answer. They need to learn this themselves. Yeah. So I believe this is an amazing time to teach people and to become great leaders.
Yes. I love it. I love it.
Lovely.
Anybody else wants to jump in?
Yeah. Go ahead, Khaled.
Thank you, Hamdi. I believe that I cannot add anything more than what Shay said. And one of the things that came into my mind, and I do remember when Shay sent me a book, which is The Lean Startup by Eric Ries. So I believe that many people, if you're talking about leadership, the ability to innovate, you can read many books, you can read many systems, process. But when it comes to the innovation itself, there is no specific process, or there is nothing can tell you how you will be able to face the things in during the process. So I love what Shay said. It's all about learning by doing. And one of the things that if you want to do, just build, measure, and learn. And do the cycle again, build, measure, and learn. Along the way, you will be able to find the things, all the obstacles that you need to reflect on it. Because in most leadership, I would say, I don't want to generalize all, but I say that they don't give a space for their people to innovate. They just, judge. If you failed, you will have a problem. You have to do this. So you are limiting my creativity. If you don't give me a space to try and feel and reflect and come back, I will not be able to innovate. I will move the wheel like is. Just my advice to all leadership, or leaders inside corporation or in business: give your people a space to innovate. Give your people a space to fail and learn from it. Because once you have this attitude within your people, I'm telling you, you will take off. This is my advice.
Great words. And brilliant. I add that this is the time to transform, like my title. It's transformational leadership, time for transformational leadership. Lead the change, help people to be creative. We want to create more leaders, not followers. So as I was saying, that encourage people to be part of the decision making, encourage them to innovate, to create. It's the right time, as Shay was mentioning, to move to transformational leadership model.
Yeah. I love that. I'm glad you mentioned in transformation, because it's it's a commitment. It's not easy. It has to be a decision. And then when it's a crisis, now you're forced into it. But now imagine also that you're in the midst of the crisis and you consciously chosen to gain new perspective. And only way to gain new perspective, we all know that. We practice this on our daily basis among our team here. So everybody that's watching and listening, thank you for participating. Welcome to ask the question. But the point is, we breathe that transformation because we consciously choose to get better every single day and rise above challenges and crises, but also solutions. And as a result, to pick that and bring back to our clients. But the beauty of that is also we cannot go with the old mindset. We always challenge our new perspective. And for leaders to do that, you have to get dirty, roll up your sleeves, and get with that with your teams. Don't be on the sidelines. Don't expect them to do things on their own and then report back to you, or because you are expecting certain results and wait for those results to happen, because that's not how innovation and transformation is occurring, right? Anything you want to add, Ara, to this, what was already being shared, before we go to the next hot topic?
Yeah, I think like as when we are forced, we learn to do some certain. We learn to have a skill, but I think like leadership is not a skill. I think like by naturally as Homo sapiens we have this biologically. I think because if you look at studies of early studies of human species as well as related species, they exhibit that in all different forms without any formal training or pushing them over the edge, and so that I think it's just there. And some people, they believe, oh, it's not for me. I'm just a person who will just be an employee or just be someone listening to someone, and I'll finish my life like that. And I think that's not true. It's just there. So I think that everyone has to level up that without a crisis you can actually give a try within your organization once in a while.
Yes.
Leveling
up the game, and this is such a great segue, because leveling up leadership is such a broad concept, but also scary concept, right? And beside now gaining this new perspective, that is the first stepping stone that we just tackled. So I'm glad you shared that, and then also address what the leveling up means to you. And now really wanted us to go a little bit deeper into something that I think is very important. How you are creating this amazing concept of leaders that others wants to follow. And we're seeing all this among ourselves. We're not following just that is immediate reflection of it by people on LinkedIn following literally and figuratively, but also following your work or following our work and following the theories or practices or knowledge, as well as personalities, right? That personal brand and the power behind that. So who wants to tackle that? How to create that want, the need, desire of the leader that is followed and that is respected and that created impact?
I want to start.
Please, go ahead.
Of course.
Please give me this chance. So,
go.
I would say if you want to build a real following and people can follow you, I don't want to say position yourself as a thought leader, but being yourself. I still do remember one of the phrases that stayed in my mind for a long time from Jim Rohn. He said, it's all about reflection. He said that affirm the truth, because the truth will set you free to correct all the errors in judgment. And this is the game of reflection. When it comes to reflection and when you're true to yourself, when there are some errors and you're just very peaceful with yourself to understand these errors and work on it, listening for critics, constructive critics, working on it to be better and better and better. By this way, you will improve yourself, because it's all about progress. Progress, it's happiness. When you listen and work every day on these things, listen, building a community, building a real people, listening to their constructive critics, by a willingness just to listen, not just to argue, because by default, our mind requires
just to be right.
Yes, we think that we are the best, but this is not the truth. So being willing and to affirm this truth and reflect on it. This is the beginning of the magical places that you can go through it. But rather than this, if you think that you're the best and you're not willing to receive feedbacks and just reflect on it, I'm telling you, you will not be able to do anything.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. Like, it's all about building. You can never stop learning and growing, and it's so important to continue having that growth mindset. You know, if you ever think you become to the apex of what you think, you're not, you know,
Yeah.
because by definition, you stop learning and you think you've done enough. So the whole point for me as a leader, like, and I think Arvin made a really good point about, it's just, it can't be just the same thing all the time. Like, there's no one size fits all, and there's no one time for one size fits all either, because you need to grow, you need to do different things, be different things at different stages of a business. Like, any leader that walked into this pandemic was like challenged for new things. They had to get the businesses running remotely. They had to make sure everyone could use technology remotely. So many different things were needed. So then initially was an internal focus to get the team and the business still moving. And then that then quickly had to turn to make sure you could hold on to your customers. So you as a person, as a leader, need to keep evolving of how you react and improve on every situation. And it's no, you can't just walk in every day and go, okay, I have to be in leader mode today. It doesn't work like that. You need to, well, what does it mean to be a leader today in my business? What are the things I need to do? Is it internal? Is it external? Is it a combination? Do I need to be able to see around corners today? Because I'll tell you now, that's what people needed to do when this pandemic started. You know, so it's so important to be able, to your point again, Khalid, to be able to grow, to learn, okay, what am I missing? What do I need to do differently? How can I continually improve?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You need to break the fears. You need to be brave, challenge yourself. It reminds me also when Khalid said about freedom. It reminds me also of a quote that I love from a guy called Bill Gove. He's old, maybe 50s or 60s. If I want to be free, I've got to be me, not the me that people think I am, not the me that my wife think I am, not the me that anyone thinks I am. Just me, be myself. So I love this quote, and I like what you said, both of you. Yes.
Thank you, Hamza.
That's powerful. And Ara, do you have any additions from your end before I share mine?
Yeah, so like 3 weeks ago, I was in a session with a very successful, person in the valley, and now lives in another part of the world. Earned his, financial freedom probably 20 years ago, and so one of the things that in the discussion we note down, like kind of listed out 10 things that that as a leader, as in again contextually. The first one is lead yourself. If you cannot lead yourself, you cannot lead anyone else.
Yeah.
Just you have to be organized and you have to be systemic. You have to be structured. Otherwise, that doesn't work at all. That if you tell other people, other things and give guidance which you don't do. And the second, as Hamamsi said, second point was be yourself. It's very work you, play you, like the way that you have to be yourself, not just different versions of you for different thing. The third point is that we discuss is in leadership, in defining leadership. This is I always followed in all my organization. Respect is earned. Respect is also a place or a position or a designation. It's not that in none of my organization, when someone I'm getting at, okay, they ask, what is my title? I say, there's no title. You will earn yourself that, that position. You don't get default power. They just, whatever it is, you just earn yourself. Yeah, the fourth point that we discussed was decision making. Leaders have to make very fast decisions, even though in some places we have to be thoughtful and reflective. But if you take so much time, and then this kind of lose credibility in with people. Fifth point is communicate a lot. As a leader, we have to communicate, openly and transparently. So that was, but again with the vision, right? If you look at the current big leaders like introverts and extroverts and so-called proclaimed introverts, like if you look at Elon Musk and some of the people, they're certain type of a leader. They don't speak much, say much. They do some small thing, but because they have a certain vision that they just want to, push it. And the eighth and sixth, there is 6th and 7th point, and 8th point is just say sorry. Just be, like say sorry, for whatever it is.
Apologize. Yeah.
Yes, apologize, and just be ready to say that I don't know. Just accept it, and you don't
Great,
have to be
great
just.
point.
And the last thing, the last two ones is we need to always understand this was a very good example because he worked a lot in the Japanese ecosystem. A nice story that he was always taking. He said that when he was doing multiple $100 million businesses, sitting in front of a very big Japanese leader, and then they suddenly close eyes and they sit like this for 2 minutes, and he thought that this discussion is over, the deal is not there. But actually these Japanese people, he said that they have this, they just take a pause in the middle of any serious discussion to just reflect back. And as a leader, we need to be ready to understand these cultural nuances and then to react accordingly. And that was one thing. And the last point is be ethical. Just be ethical as a leader.
Great
So these are the 10 points that we worked out in the 2 weeks ago.
You have to write an ebook even. I love it. I love the point.
That's very nice. Yeah.
It's very relatable.
Thank you for sharing that. And actually, this is so timely because one of the things I wanted to also point out, like right now, we're seeing from leaders need for clarity, right? How do you get the clarity? You have to connect with team. You have to communicate. You have to adapt and adjust to different styles and different people. Things are not perfect. Nobody's seeking perfection. And if somebody's still seeking during the current time for perfection, they're in the wrong place. They shouldn't be leading teams. They shouldn't be working in the teams. Because ultimately, yes, we want to strive for as best we can, but sometimes also knowing when it's good enough to go to the next stage and next iteration, and being really nimble and being very, very humble. One thing I'm also seeing that is needed, just to add what Arvind shared in his list, that also we have to have something, yes, as you pointed out today, sorry or apologize, but what we're lacking so much to see amongst the leaders is taking responsibility. When we're not taking responsibility, nothing is working. When we're also not taking opportunity to really share and accountability. I'm accountable for this or for team or for the money, whatever the case it is, that goes hand in hand. And those are the things that we're seeing that is really completely disappearing and is, as a result, creating so much friction and fragmentation with the team, with the boards of directors, with everything else. So if we take responsibility, if we take accountability, and also on top of that, we continue to affirm not only what's important for us individually, but what's important for us as a group, because we have a commitment, right? We have a commitment amongst ourselves, what the commitments look like. And it's okay to adjust it. It's okay to also say, I may not be able to commit more time or effort and energy, but this is the commitment I'm giving to you. How do you show up? How do you prioritize that? And how do we do collectively? And I really think when you have all of those elements, that it's going to gain something tremendous, which I think ultimately every single person on the planet wants: to be accepted, to be respected, and to be heard. If we don't have those three things, if we're not allowing our clients, it's not going to happen.
I love this. Very well said.
And if I can add a point to just listen to you all there, like people like look at leaders and they think they're doing nothing. I'll tell you now, being a leader is a very, very difficult job to do it right, because you have to look at so many different things all the time. You've got 100 million variables happening all the time. And at the end of the day, people only see a small percentage of what you do. They don't see what's behind the closed doors, what you're trying to achieve. Because like there is a commitment there, as you said, Isabella, like, and it's like sometimes like the leader has to protect the people, like especially during, again, I'm going to use this pandemic as an example again, like business was tough, leaders tried to had to keep it together. Like, and I know leaders in my country, my colleagues, my friends, some of them who were literally not paying themselves so they could pay their teams and keep their teams, because they knew they had families and they wanted to make sure they could pay the mortgage. So there's a lot of these things that if you have this vision to become a leader, Like, and I obviously recommend people to go along that journey, but just know what you're getting yourself in for, because it's a roller coaster. You're gonna have to go through some tough times and come out the other side to ensure you can be the best version of you all the time. When you're back against the wall, you still have to put on your best suit and best foot forward, because you have people to support, you've got mouths to feed, and you have a commitment to ensure that can stay to happen. That's not an easy thing to do. And anyone who can do that well, I applaud them.
Agree, 100%. It's a big responsibility, and sometimes it's tough. Sometimes you have to take some tough decisions. But really, great leaders, as you said, they take it first, maybe on themselves before they do it to any of their subordinates or something, or if there is any cut in the salaries or any cut in the thing, they try to find any way out other than firing people. They try to start cut maybe from transportation, cut anything, cut from that, like you said, but try to keeping the adhesiveness and the coherence between the team by not cutting from their salaries, and trying to show that we are all in one boat. And this is very important message, like you said. I like what you said.
Excellent. I'm so glad that we're going in such a rich conversation. I'm so happy to see amazing, beautiful friends that are joining and saying hello. He's joining us from Netherlands. So thank you so much. And he's a great leader in his own right. So I'm just super thrilled to see your smiling face here, as well as Liga. She is also doing a lot of things on specifically emotional intelligence and building good DNA of leadership. Then we also have a Bridget here, and Cooper, and many others. Doreen that was here a second ago. So just wanted to say thank you for staying with us and saying hello. It's such a great to have your support and presence. If you have any questions, please jump in. But we're heading now down the road into the really next really solid great point here, because we tackled, first of all, what it takes to level up. We tackled what it's to gain the new perspective in order to do that, right? And then also how to be the leader that cares and that others really want to follow, and what that DNA looks like. And then now we're getting to something that also I'm learning that so many through my clients, through obviously a reach that we're having and questions that are being asked, how to truly now lead effectively with the chaos and crisis and disruption, right? But in the same time, also how to delegate and how to trust, and also be able to pass the buck or pass the ball, right, to the other side. And then also how to divide certain tasks and things so that not everything is competing and overriding. So I would love to see who'd like to jump on that, meaning how to lead and delegate and divide the tasks or complexities in a way like a pro. So I have a feeling that Khalid wants to start first, so go for it.
Please let me start. So I believe that if you're talking about the same thing, it's all about now good leaders and the best leaders, they trust their teams. And especially in these current situations where we are being faced by VUCA environment everywhere, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity everywhere around us, you have to trust your team. And if I see that there is some waves that will be annihilated and we will be under it from the uncertainty, I believe that you can have a team spirit like steering committee and let them stay together in one table, speak the same language, understand their challenges, because it's all about the flow of communication. Good leaders, they don't do everything by their hands. It's all about collaboration, how they can let their people collaborate all together. Because I believe one mind, it's not like 5 minds, 6 minds, 7 minds. You can brainstorm, you can find good ideas, even you can innovate better and better and better. I believe the essence of that point, it's all about trust. And give, again, I will stress on this point, give a space to your team to work in a collaborative way.
Yeah.
Great.
And just the only thing I've got to add to that, you said it perfectly. The only thing I want to add to that is, as a leader, the message. You want to make sure your message coming to you or your team's message coming to you is simple. So you can teach them how to present information in a way that you can understand it quickly and react and act upon that in it. So everything from the ground, it cascades up all the way to the top in such a simple way that things happen fast. And for me, that is crucial. So get your teams working collaboratively, but get them to think about how to simplify the message so you can make sense of it and do something with it.
Yes.
Great point. And I also say that you have to let go of your ego. You don't know everything, and like Khaled said, trust your team. Give them space to create. Encourage them to create, not just to follow and just wait for you to tell them what to do or like this. So encourage them to take whenever there is a possibility to take some decisions. Yes, when there is a roadblock or something, it's your role to clear the roadblocks from their way so that they can continue doing their job. So yeah, don't micromanage, of course, but clear the big roadblocks if you can with another departments or another kind of managements that are people that are resisting change. So it's your role to clear those roadblocks to help your team innovate, create, and do their best.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Aravind, any comments from your end?
Yeah, so for me, it's exactly like, this contextual leadership, right? If the organization is, you're building the organization from the scratch, then it's a different way you have to handle it. If it's already like, you're a leader of a country, truth doesn't speak to the power. Even if you delegate so many trust layers, you cannot really get all that detail from what you need to, probably need to know to make the decision. So you need to always find the balance between knowing details about your organization and team, and then, delegate it. And because you will always have that thing. So in my organization, one of my organization, currently we are almost 20 people, my colleagues, and internal and 50 plus external, totally, 60 plus totally in the team. But yeah, but when I started building this organization, I was trying to apply certain core governance leadership model that everyone is equal, like, what I have been used to such structures in, building organization in Germany. And that I thought that people would take ownership and then lead that way and delegate, things will happen. But in global south, it doesn't work that way. So it's very difficult to get people to take ownership, because they have been traditionally, through the colonial systems, they have been always told what to do, and they are not mostly like taking decision. And it has been a very difficult. So I decided to customize, personalize that particular core governance model, which I was adopting from Germany, and also another organization in New Zealand called Inspiral. It's a very well-known governance model. And so what I came up like is, as I said, snowflake leadership. So if you look at snowflakes, like in the center, they are like, then they have kind of a branches, and those branches have small branches. And then, when they are like, kind of melting, the center circle become big and then melt all together. That's what I started developing in my organization. So first I thought I would, rather than keeping everyone in the first place as flat, it's not possible in this environment. First, I will create a small center of that snowflake and empower them until they can actually take decision on their own. And then that center circle became 2 more people, and then they became a center, like 3 people as a center leaders. And then they had their delegates, subordinates, and they were giving instructions, and then they were controlling. And after a certain point of time, the second circle also understood the leadership and the process and the ownership, which it's not possible in first place. They need the time to become, to that. And then the center circle becomes a little bit bigger. And then they all become a leader, and then they have their the branches of that center circle grows and melts, like completely melts. So initially it will be something like three-dimensional leadership, and then it melts like two-dimensional. So that worked for me in my organization. We still follow that, and in particular region of the world I'm talking about. So again, you need to customize that according to your situation, your organization, your location, the cultural differences, and you know, all that thing. Is personalization is the key.
Yeah, no,
I love that.
that's a great point, Arvind, and it reminds me of an example of a client I worked with a number of years ago when I was working with the leader, and we were talking about breaking down all the leadership activities that he had to do and categorize them. So a big part of what he had to do was business development in his particular role. And once we agreed the 5 or 6 different categories of bodies of work that he had to do on a regular basis, what he actually went, now I didn't tell him to do this, but he went out and did this himself. He bought 6 different color caps. And every time he had to get into a certain mode, he put a certain color cap on. Each color represented one of the categories, you know, so it helped him become really conscious of the person he had to be in that moment of time, which I thought was very intuitive, you know, and very clever, because again, you can't just switch yourself on to be something all the time. You have to become really conscious of it. And that was just a really unique way for him to help him get into a certain modus operandi in terms of how he needed to act, you know. And I thought that was really interesting. And what you said reminded me of that.
Yeah.
That
Actually,
is
this
really
cap,
smart.
when you mentioned about the cap, we actually had it in maybe 2012, one of the startup. We built it, you know, 40 people in a year. To make people the founder was one of the person, the very enterprise entrepreneur, works with Google, Larry Page, and all on this, you know, first Android and so on. So he just immediately said, okay, we need to have like a Google working culture and so on. So some of them that we adopted was wearing this cap. So basically, to take ownership of something that we did wrong or we broke something, people in companies, they feel it like it's kind of a taboo, you know. You have to just accept that I broke that thing, you know. That's simple. So we broke the build, you know, cap in the company. Whenever someone breaks something, you know, we just wear it, and it was natural for everyone to accept that that, you know, that we did that. And that's what some affiliation to what you mentioned.
Yeah.
It's also transparency, right? Being transparent in the process that this is coming. And one thing that just actually came in, it's really relevant for what's going on right now, as many companies are bringing their teams back. One particular company that I love what they did, they instituted different wristbands for people that can wear, and because of situation that are in, the ones that they can maybe don't want to be physically touched or hugged, that they're having somebody sick back home, that they need to still have a distance, the ones that are open to having the interaction and work very closely, that they, you know, like a green, yellow, different colors, but they're also using that symbolism of different colors also when they're working in the teams. That can mean different things for them. So do you know who is in charge, who is leading the group? You know, like when people also want to be led, so they're not disrupted, so that they're in that creative space. And then when they're huddled, when they're having discussions, so they're using these color bands for multiple purposes. Not only how they come together and how close they come together and how they interact, versus also like when they're in this creative mode, so that not only delegation happens and creativity and innovation, but also phenomenal collaboration, but also they divide. Meaning, I'm going to go in my separate room or corner and I'm going to work by myself because I work best, or I need the time, or I need a quiet, or whatever might be the case. So just such a beautiful way of harmony, leveraging something that is easy to recognize, that is visible, but also that respects everybody's different space. Because like in the United States, if you're very close to someone, not definitely 6 feet apart, but if you in their private space, people don't like that. And sometimes they will tell you and sometimes they will not, but a lot of times they will tell to their co-workers, you know, so just a very interesting nuances. Also, how do we recognize who is working on my team, who is working with me? and then adjust accordingly. More than ever, we need to be able to adjust that, right? And understand cultural norms, understand expectations, but also be able to give environment that ultimately it's cohesive and it's going to naturally play out, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that, in a part of a company culture workshop that I used to give, gamification of your workplaces, which was always a best thing that worked. Every company has a certain type of a game, and I'll tell you one of the organization. It was very, just generally here, every organization, even small one, is very environmentally aware because of, it's a political thing also for the country. And so we have a, lift, and then we say that whoever is, taking the steps, and they will have strike at the entrance of the door. So, and then we started gamifying, and we see, okay, whoever, is getting a benefit. And where does that benefit comes from? It's people who are coming late to the meeting. They have to put €5 in a jar.
Yes.
So that's collected money was given to the people who are taking staircase. And then some people are really, in Germany, even, some time, small amount of times late is late. And then people are like, some people are, okay, I put the €5, I don't care. And then we have to gamify that part, that not only that you have to put €5, you also have to dance and sing in front of the team. People want time, that gamification is a form of I think it's a leadership that binds together employees.
Yes, and it's a funny way, funny, lighthearted way, but also showing what's important, and the culture does not support being late, but they will not scold the people. They will not lecture them or put them down in front of others. We still treat them as adults, but they will eventually help them to retrain behaviors, because some people truly just have those behavioral things that they will always do certain things a certain way till they retrain and do something otherwise, right? So with that in mind, with this leveling up of leadership and these great stories and opportunities to truly do that across any organization, what would be just one quick advice that you wanted to give, one sentence or so, before we wrap for today, because we're already over our hour, and we wanted to just make sure we leave an audience with something tangible and actionable. So, Mr. Khalid, what one thing that would be?
Please let me speak firstly.
How much you gonna pay me to let you speak first?
No, I would say don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to manifest. Be willing to fail, and trust the process. These are the three things that I can give it to everybody, everyone in the leadership position. Don't be afraid at all.
Great. I'll go second. I'll say be human, and allow people to. It's okay if people make mistakes. It's meaning that they are trying. And the third thing is quick decision making. The ability of taking quick decisions is very important to be a great leader.
Wow, love all of those.
For me, sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so we spoken of a lot of things. So lead yourself before you can lead others. So in a way that the best governance is the self-governance. And I would say so. If we can, and I have actually, there's one book, "The Best Governance is No Governance." I've read it somewhere.
Don't read that one. Not that one.
So,
I want to look that up. That's very relevant for me at the moment.
Yeah, once in a while we need that, no governance, get wasted to feel how much it's good to be, to be not get wasted, So great, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, what I'm going to close with, Isabella, is bring your teams with you, right? Don't just measure them on contribution, but also satisfaction. Because I always believe build that culture of people helping each other, because helping people are happy people are performing people. You build that in your business, you'll see the magic happen. And I've seen it proven it 1,000,000 times over.
100%.
And,
Thousand.
and for me, in closing, would be that leader you wanted to see in others. If you have expectation from your team, you have to demonstrate and show them what that looks like. If you just talk in theory and not able to actionalize and make it in practical day to day, you are not leading, and that is the problem. So lead the way, impact, influence, and make a tremendous difference. So my dear colleagues and friends and everybody that joined us from different parts of the world, Liga, Cooper, Kees, Doreen, Ahmed, and many others, wanted to just thank you for your great participation and being with us today. And we're looking forward to seeing you next Wednesday at the same time and probably at the same place. Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.